Saturday afternoon. For most Germans, this is the time when the weekly shopping gets done. On Saturdays, German consumers are out and about more than on any other day of the week to run errands. On the 5th of November 2022, 39-year-old Vanessa Huber from Unterhaching is no exception. She visits a Norma store near her apartment. These images are taken during her visit. They are the last recordings of her. Only about an hour after her shopping trip, she disappears. And to this day, she is desperately being searched for, especially since the one person who might have more information will remain silent forever. Vanessa Huber is described as a cheerful and athletic woman who knows what she wants and is in the prime of her life. Vanessa is 39 years old and has been together with her husband Fabian for about 10 years. She was born in Berlin, but for some time now she has been living in Unterhachingen, Bavaria, together with her husband. After graduating from high school in 2004, Vanessa studied fitness economics and earned a diploma. That's exactly why she moved from Berlin to Bavaria. She studied in Munich and then stayed in the state afterwards. After graduating, she continued her education and completed training in finance and insurance. Vanessa's ambition pays off and she takes over the management of a fitness studio. It is there, in the early 2000s, that she meets her future husband, Fabian, who is the same age and works there as a trainer. In June 2018, after 6 years together, the two get married. In 2019, Vanessa and Fabian buy a condominium. The next step for the two of them is to start planning a family together. However, the couple faces the same challenges as many others. What happens in 2020 throws a wrench in their plans. The fitness studio where they are both now employed is struggling financially. Between April and November 2020, according to the Federal Employment Agency, there were about 117,000 additional job losses compared to 2019. And that was solely due to effects of the pandemic. Jobs in the hospitality and restaurant industries were particularly affected. Of course, fitness studios also couldn't open normally for a long time. That's why many people canceled their memberships. From a consumer's perspective, that makes sense. For many, money was already tight due to the overall situation. For the operators, however, this drastically worsened the already tense economic situation. Fabian, along with about 6 million other Germans, is put on short-time work. Eventually, he loses his job entirely. That's already a burden in itself. But just the previous year, he and Vanessa had bought their apartment together, which of course still needs to be paid off somehow. To somehow make up for it, Vanessa takes on a side job as a personnel consultant. But the financial strain remains nonetheless. And the plan to start a family is also put on hold for the two 39-year-olds, at least for now. Vanessa isn't doing well in 2022 because of all this, which is understandable. She has trouble sleeping and feels stressed. But she also takes action and deals with it by seeking psychological support. During this time, things aren't going well between Vanessa and Fabian either. Among other reasons, because of a letter addressed to Vanessa that Fabian opened. The letter was about a savings account that Vanessa managed together with her mother. Fabian, on the other hand, knew nothing about this savings account. For Vanessa, it was probably just her own thing. The money belonged to her parents. Fabian apparently feels betrayed that she didn't tell him about these savings during their shared financial difficulties. For him, this is a breach of trust. This leads to an argument between the two, during which Fabian throws Vanessa out. Afterwards, he even has the locks on their shared apartment changed. So the whole thing is really serious. Vanessa stays with a friend who kindly takes her in. On her friend's advice, Vanessa contacts a divorce lawyer. But at the end of October 2022, she cancels her appointment with him. She and Fabian have reconciled. Vanessa has made a concession to her husband. She has given him power of attorney for the investment account, as proof that she is truly serious about their future together and that she trusts him. A text message from Vanessa to a friend is quoted in a segment on Aktenzeichen XY as follows. Dear Petra, thank you so much for your support. As you yourself have noticed, I love Fabian more than anything. I don't want to give up almost 10 years, even if it will take a lot of time for things to get back to normal. Well, and that's exactly how things look at the beginning of November. On the 1st of November, Vanessa and Fabian go for a walk together in the Perlacher Forst. The two of them take selfies together and smile at the camera. They really do look happy and quite relaxed in the photos. But less than a week later, Vanessa Huber will have disappeared. Four days after the walk in the woods, there is the last sign of life from Vanessa. On the 5th of November 2022, she and Fabian go shopping together. It's Saturday afternoon, and around 4:40 p.m. they are at a Norma store on Münchner Straße in Unterhach. Just like dozens of other customers. Vanessa is wearing her long blonde hair down. She has a red FFP2 mask on and is wearing black sneakers with light-colored soles, black jeans, a blue sweatshirt jacket, a dark coat over it, and a brown patterned scarf. Like all the other customers, she strolls through the store, looks at the goods on the shelves, and together with Fabian puts the groceries on the checkout counter. However, these are the last images of her. On Monday, the 7th of November 2022, Fabian files a missing person report with the police. He hasn't seen his wife since Saturday afternoon. He had actually hoped that maybe she had just gone to a friend's place again to clear her head. That's why he waited 2 days before filing the report. Fabian says that after they returned from shopping at Norma, the two of them had another argument. At around 5:50 p.m., Vanessa then left the apartment. Fabian remembers this so precisely because he called his mother shortly afterwards. The time of the call is saved on his phone. Vanessa must have been on foot. Her bicycle and her car were left in the garage. Vanessa also left her personal belongings in their shared apartment. And I really mean all of her personal belongings. Not just documents, wallet and phone, her smartwatch and her glasses, but also her wedding and engagement rings. Fabian reports that in the evening he got on his bike himself to see if Vanessa was somewhere nearby. But he didn't find her. On November 9th, the Munich homicide squad took over the case. Among other things, they make sure that the couple's apartment is examined by forensic investigators. Fabian is put up in a hotel during this time so that the investigators can do their work undisturbed. In addition to the house, the Perlacher Forest is also searched, which Vanessa and Fabian had visited just 4 days before the 39-year-old disappeared. It is very close to their shared apartment, and Vanessa regularly went jogging there. However, no clues to her whereabouts are found there. Future search operations in January and September 2023 will also remain fruitless. Drones were even used in the process. They marked a total of 114 suspicious spots, which were then checked again by emergency personnel. Apart from mounds of earth, tarps, and huts, nothing was found, despite the thorough search. As is customary in such cases, the immediate environment of the missing person is examined closely. In this specific case, that means the police questioned Fabian intensively. However, the investigation against Fabian is dropped because no concrete suspicion of a crime against him can be substantiated. What happened to the 39-year-old remains completely unclear to this day. But there are leads. Leads that unfortunately came to the investigators' attention too late. Although the police did investigate Fabian, they are not ruling out two other scenarios. One would be that Vanessa took her own life. She was probably under enormous stress at the end. Not just because of the money issues and the arguments with her husband, but also because she still had an unfulfilled desire to have children. But the possibility that Vanessa may have disappeared voluntarily is also not being ruled out. In an interview, her mother said it would be okay if Vanessa no longer wanted to talk to her. She just wanted to know that Vanessa was still alive, and that she was doing reasonably well. Up until the end, Vanessa had regular and very good contact with both her mother and her father. For this reason, among others, it is questionable whether the 39-year-old really disappeared voluntarily. After all her documents were left behind in the apartment. Bank cards, passport, and everything else. Unfortunately, this circumstance makes one fear the worst. In July 2024, the case of Vanessa Huber will be featured on Aktenzeichen XY Unsolved. During the program, it is mentioned that Vanessa's husband Fabian is no longer alive. No cause of death is given, only that foul play has been ruled out. However, according to reports, the authorities were aware that they were said to have regularly used drugs. One source mentions legal substances, while another refers to synthetic drugs. An officer told C Online that Fabian did not use classic narcotics. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. Apparently, it was about so-called legal highs. For example, certain herbal blends, bath additives, or chemical cleaners that contain psychoactive substances. As mentioned, it is not known whether this consumption had anything to do with his death. Only that on March 15th, 2024, he was found dead in the apartment. The police became aware of the situation because the deceased's mailbox was overflowing and the smell of decomposition had spread through the stairwell. No farewell letter was found. In the course of the XY broadcast, the responsible homicide division is taking a special step. Although Fabian is no longer alive, they are now publishing a photo of him. The police hope this will lead to further clues to solve the crime. In doing so, the investigators are especially asking for witnesses who may have seen Vanessa and Fabian after they left the Norma store. The couple left the supermarket at around 4:50 p.m. And an hour later, according to Fabian, Vanessa had already disappeared. The Norma store is within walking distance from their apartment. They really only had to walk down Münchner Straße. It's quite possible that the two of them were seen by witnesses while doing so. Besides the photo, there is another special investigative tactic. In the XY segment, Vanessa's husband is called Fabian, just like in this video. However, that is not his real first name. It was changed for privacy protection reasons. But in media reports that appear around the time of the broadcast, Fabian's real full name is used after all. Even in reports that refer directly to the police or police spokespersons. It's unclear why the police changed their tactics or whether the real name leaked to the press in some other way. That's why we decided to use the altered first name for this video, the one used in XY. After all, the segments for the show are produced in close cooperation with the police, and the investigators must have had their reasons for doing so. Only after the broadcast of the XY episode does the head of the homicide division reveal further new details. It's unclear why these things weren't addressed in the TV segment, but were instead released to the media just a few days later. Essentially, it concerns something the inspector calls a conspicuous cleaning behavior. A neighbor claims to have seen Fabian thoroughly cleaning the inside of his car on the day Vanessa disappeared. In addition, he cleaned both his and his wife's mattresses with a pressure washer. He apparently explained this by saying that he had vomited several times. In this context, his use of legal highs is also mentioned again. So apparently he had already been using before Vanessa disappeared, and didn't just start after November 2022. It was also announced that during the search of the apartment, a cadaver dog is said to have alerted. However, the trace was too vague to take any further action. And the suspicion against Fabian was not enough for an arrest warrant. And by now, he is no longer alive, and in Germany you can't investigate deceased persons. As I said, the cleaning of the car and the mattresses, as well as the thing with the cadaver dog, were not mentioned in the TV report. Even today, Vanessa Huber is still being searched for. The appeal was last updated on the BKA website on July 10th, 2024. July 2024. A day later, there was a search operation in a roughly 60-meter-long pond in Unterhaching. Fabian is said to have marked the pond on Google Maps as an investigation of his computer data after his death showed. However, nothing was found during the operation with divers. The search appeal is still current. Specifically, the BKA website poses 3 questions regarding the disappearance of Vanessa. 1. Have you seen Vanessa Huber after November 5th, 2022, after 4:40 p.m.? And was she accompanied? 2. Did the couple attract attention anywhere again after shopping? And thirdly, can you provide any information about the whereabouts of Vanessa Huber? And with exactly these questions, I unfortunately have to leave you at the end of this video. If anyone has any information, the police station is still accepting tips. Even the smallest tip could be important. Vanessa still has family, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances who ask themselves every day what happened to her. And if Vanessa could somehow be found, no matter what condition she is in, at least this agonizing question could be answered. The question of why, on the other hand, may remain hidden forever. With the case of Vanessa Huber, today we've once again discussed a current missing persons case from Germany, and a truly difficult one at that. Surely many of you will have a very clear opinion about this case after hearing the details, but it was never enough for an arrest warrant. Whoever is responsible for Vanessa Huber's disappearance has ensured that, even almost 3 years later, she still hasn't been found. As always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Just keep in mind when commenting that this is an ongoing investigation, which still affects Vanessa's loved ones. So let's keep our discussions in the comments as objective as we're used to here at Insolito. A comment also helps boost the algorithm. Together with a like, it's a great way to help this video get recommended to new viewers. And especially because this is a current missing person case, I would be glad if the video reaches as many people as possible. If you'd like to see more videos about unsolved or solved criminal cases in the future, feel free to subscribe to the channel.